On the evening of April 1st, 2026, 4 human beings left Earth and aimed themselves at the moon. Not a probe, not a satellite. People. Strapped to the most powerful rocket ever built, they punched through the atmosphere above Florida and began a journey that no living person had witnessed in over half a century. This is the story of Artemis II. 10 days, 695,000 miles, and the mission that changed everything. The rocket that carried them there is called the Space Launch System, the SLS, and it has had a complicated life. Over budget, behind schedule. Earlier in the year, it leaked hydrogen during a systems test, then helium, and had to be rolled back into the assembly building and rebuilt from scratch. But on the evening of April 1st, it was ready. One brief moment of tension before ignition. Ground controllers flagged unusual readings from the flight termination system, a set of explosive charges built into the fuel tank that destroy the rocket if it ever loses control. The worry lasted a few minutes. A faulty sensor, nothing more. The system itself was working fine. At 6:35 p.m., the engines lit. The crew of the spacecraft Integrity rose into a clear Florida sky on 8.9 million pounds of thrust. Mission Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen, the first Canadian ever to fly a crewed lunar mission. Even the service module handling power and propulsion was built in Germany by the European Space Agency. The name Integrity was a tribute to everyone, from dozens of nations, who made that moment possible. 8.5 minutes after liftoff, the booster engines shut down. The spacecraft separated cleanly and eased into orbit. Before committing to the moon, the crew paused in high Earth orbit at 43,500 miles up and ran a full systems check. The Orion capsule had only flown once before, unmanned. This was the first time human lives depended on it. Most things worked perfectly. Most things. The first problem was with the Universal Waste Management System, the toilet. This was supposed to be one of the great upgrades over the Apollo era, when astronauts had nothing but plastic bags. The Orion capsule came equipped with a full enclosed bathroom, except the suction fan powering the urine collection hose had stopped working. The crew fell back on what NASA officially called the collapsible contingency urinal, a bag. The second problem was an IT issue. 2 NASA email accounts, neither accessible. Anyone who has fought a corporate login screen will understand. With those peculiarities logged, mission controllers unanimously cleared Integrity for its trans-lunar injection burn. The engine fired. The spacecraft broke free of Earth's gravity and began the long fall toward the moon. The path they traveled uses gravity as the navigator. The moon pulls the spacecraft in, swings it around the far side, and throws it back toward Earth. Almost no fuel required for steering. The mathematics of the solar system doing the work. 3 days between worlds. The crew turned their cameras toward home. At 100,000 miles out, Christina Koch photographed the entire Earth in a single frame. No composites, no stitched satellite tiles. Just one image, taken with a Nikon on a sensor sensitive enough to capture moonlight bouncing off the night side of the planet. They called it Hello World. The first high-resolution photograph in which our entire planet fits in one shot. And as the crew watched, that planet slowly shrank in their windows. On April 5th, the moon filled the glass. At their greatest distance from Earth, the crew of Integrity traveled over 252,000 miles from home, further than any human being in recorded history. From 4,000 miles above the surface, the moon looked enormous. The Apollo crews had orbited much closer, circling the equatorial belt, never seeing the poles. The Artemis crew saw the whole thing, and what they saw was not what photographs had prepared them for. The moon is not gray. There are browns, subtle and earthy, in the highlands. Faint hints of green in some of the impact regions. Colors no camera had ever captured. Colors only the human eye can detect. As Integrity swept across the boundary between the near and far side, marked by the ancient Oriental Basin, 600 miles wide and nearly 4 billion years old, the crew became the first people to ever see the entire structure in one view. And then the far side opened up. Heavily cratered, rugged, no volcanic plains to smooth it out. Tall peaks and steep cliffs casting hard shadows in the low-angle sunlight. A surface that looks nothing like the flat terrain where Apollo astronauts once walked. During their approach, the crew identified two previously uncatalogued craters. One was proposed for naming, Integrity, to honor the mission. The other, bright and sharp against the old gray surface, was proposed to be named Carol, after Commander Wiseman's late wife, who passed away in 2020. Near the South Pole, they could see the Aitken Basin, the place where NASA intends to land future Artemis crews and eventually build a permanent outpost on the Moon. As Integrity rounded the far side, the Earth slipped below the lunar horizon. An Earth set, and with it, silence. The Moon cut the communications link, and for about 40 minutes, these four people were completely unreachable. No signal, nothing, just them, and the far side of the Moon. When they came back into range, they saw the Earth rise over the lunar edge. The same image that Apollo 8 gave the world on Christmas Eve, 1968. Except now, it belonged to a new generation. Later that same evening, Integrity witnessed something no human eyes had ever seen. A total solar eclipse from the far side of the Moon. From their position, the Moon appeared far larger than the Sun, stretching the eclipse to nearly 54 minutes. Stars appeared. Planets became visible. The solar corona blazed in a darkness that had existed since the Moon first formed. It just took humanity this long to get into position to see it. 4 days later, Integrity hit the atmosphere at Mach 32, 32 times the speed of sound. The angle has to be near perfect. Too shallow, and the capsule skips back into space. Too steep, and it overheats. 20 minutes before entry, pyrotechnic charges fired and separated the capsule from the service module, which burned up cleanly on its own. The capsule flipped its heat shield into the direction of travel and fell. The air didn't just heat up, it exploded. At that velocity, molecules compress so violently they transition into plasma, a superheated field reaching 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit that wrapped around the capsule and killed all communication with the ground. 6 minutes of fire. 4 times the force of Earth's gravity pressing the crew into their seats. A plasma storm blazing outside the windows. Then it faded. The speed dropped. The radio came back. All 4 crew members, alive, healthy, coming home. At 5:07 p.m., off the coast of San Diego, Integrity splashed down into the Pacific Ocean. Parachutes had slowed it to 19 miles per hour. 5 red helium balloons deployed from the nose to keep it upright in the 4-foot swells. The hatch was opened from the outside. Fresh air entered the capsule for the first time in 10 days. One by one, the crew were lifted by helicopter to a Navy recovery ship waiting nearby. All 4 astronauts, in good health. 695,081 miles, door to door. This was the most significant human spaceflight mission of the 21st century. Not because someone landed, not because a flag was planted, because a crew of 4 looked at the Moon from closer than any living person ever had, came home safely, and proved that everything that comes next is possible. The South Pole is waiting. A permanent outpost is being planned. And the first crewed lunar landing in over 50 years is no longer a promise. It's coming.